Hi guys, this is Emnel, and we are about to start a second campaign using Together for Victory DLC. This time around we are going to take India, or rather British Raj, for a spin. British Raj is, I think, the nation that got changed the most in this version of the game. In previous ones it was just a boring miner with a huge manpower pool, but nothing else going for it. Now the main focus is put on a defining issue for India in 30s and 40s, which is its struggle to regain independence. And it's pretty nicely captured in the focus tree here. But before we go into that, let's set up a game and choose a difficulty for ourselves. We'll discuss the details once we are in the game. We're going to go Veteran Ironman mode, of course, and we are going, as usually, max out the sliders for our enemies. Germany, Italy, and Japan. And we are going to give 1 point for minor nations sympathetic to our cause, such as China and France, because without that they collapse with like a week or so, and this way it's a bit more historical. The defense takes like a month or 2 months, things like that, and same goes for Soviets. Soviets will still have a huge disadvantage, but they won't just die within a month or so, which will make it it's a bit more historical. We are going to leave the United Kingdom and USA as they are. If you're interested what the bonuses are here, because I don't think we have discussed it in the last 2 games, so let's quickly go through it. Adventure speed and planning speed, nothing too major. Supply consumption and division attrition, however, supply consumption, and division attrition are pretty damn huge, because they allow AI to put twice as many divisions on certain terrain that the player can. Division recovery rate also an important thing, because with that, by the time division that has been broken in combat retreats to another province, it has most of its organization back. Then there are pretty serious 30% attack and defense bonuses when defending, when fighting in your core territory, which is interesting. And the most important ones are by far political power gain plus 50%, production efficiency cap and growth by 30 and 50, which, well, compared to negative, compared to 20% penalties you suffer when being on veteran, it's a huge difference between AI and the player. Same goes for plus 20% research times. Rest, which is the experience gain, is less of an issue. Well, that's about it. Without further ado, let's start the game. I'm going to call it, let's say, India YouTube, save and play. Right, let's see what we are starting with. Well, first of all, we are starting with 14 civilian factories and 2 military ones. We are not suffering from Great Depression like some of the Commonwealth nations, but we have problems of our own. First of which is the fact that we are not a dominion but a colony. On top of other things, the thing that will affect us the most is the fact that we only enjoy half of the bonuses of technology sharing that are instrumental for other nations, which, coupled with only 2 research slots to boot, are pretty bad. So if we look, if we look right here, we'll see that basic bonus is 10% a member, but we only have 5. We'll have to increase our status to a dominion to be able to catch up, which is going to be therefore our main goal. As you can see here, 4 nations have artillery, and that sadly only amounts to 20% bombs. We, as well, are not going to have any bonuses to technology sharing beyond being able to just remove that penalty and get to 10%, which It's also an important problem compared to things like 20% for Australia or 18% for Canada that they can get. Now, another issue is that we are actually losing autonomy rather than gaining it because of the princely state out in national spirit. On top of that, we have problems with marginalized Muslim community, which reduces our recruitable population by 20% and our national unity by 10%. On top of that, because we are a pre-modern agrarian society, we were being kept by this way by British for a reason. We suffer another 69% of all things penalty, which amounts to a staggering 89% reduced effective manpower, which basically means that we can only use 11% of our possible recruits. On top of that, since we are at manpower, we cannot switch from volunteer-only conscription until we become fully independent, which is turns the whole India being an endless pool of manpower on its very head, doesn't it? So we are, well, basically we are a slightly bigger minor when it comes to that, at least early on. Once we remove some of those penalties, and play all the other cards that we have right, we have an opportunity to become, well, maybe not a equivalent to Soviet Russia or Germany, but about as powerful as Italy, I would say, at least, which you cannot say about any other Commonwealth minors, which actually start in much better position than we do. So it's an interesting mechanic. Another thing that we suffer from is risk of famine. Basically, if we are still a colony and we end up at war, there is a big chance of famines striking us, which will of course hit our manpower reserves even harder. For all those reasons, as you have probably figured out, our main goal is to become a dominion rather than colony, and then work towards our independence. There are, well, 3 ways to go about it, or rather 4. So basic 2 decisions are if we are going to aim to remain within Commonwealth and peacefully work towards our independence, which we can do by focusing on this side of the tree, or rather, if we are going to try to overthrow the government in a violent rebellion, be it communist or fascist one. And those 2 foci here allow you to start a civil war. What is interesting to note is that this civil war, at least in the current version, perhaps it will change later, does not put you at war with United Kingdom. You are only fighting against the second part of India itself, which makes it, well, basically trivial. We are not going to do that, however. We are going to stay democratic and try to recreate more or less historical way of how things are, which is we're going to peacefully transition to being an independent nation. What it includes is sort of a fix to our marginalized Muslim community problem, a two-nation theory, which will fix our daily autonomy issues when coupled with Quit India movement. But remember, we have -4 at the start, and to get Quit India movement, we will need to get unsuccessful Crips mission, which will hit us even harder. Which basically means that we can either accept two-nation theory, which means that the moment we get independence, part of our nation will become independent as a secondary state, which is Pakistan. So all of that has claims as Pakistan will become Pakistan, including today's Bangladesh, East Bengal, right here. We could try to do that without the nations theory, but that basically involves using increased autonomy focus for a long time. We'll have to decide. We'll probably go with two nations theory, but it's too early to tell. Especially since, well, we won't be able to choose either of those before the world tension is at 10%, so this is a discussion for another tier. Now, here is our, well, as you can see, the military trees, however, are a bit intertwined. If we were not to choose Indian National Congress, we won't be able to get any of this. And as you can see here, those 6 are various bonuses for our military, and will be only limited to those things. One of the interesting bonuses that we have here, since, well, we already started, is jungle training. That requires us to, as you can see here, looking through that, to actually go with the UK, but it's, well, fairly, well, it's a new thing. There haven't been bonuses like that before. Similarly, we have an ability to get mountain guns, so to speak, which affects the speed of our artillery and anti-tanks, which I guess pushes us towards special forces, infantry-focused kind of approach. Focusing on mountain troops like Gurkhas that you can see here, and we are probably going to do just that. Quite similar to our Canadian campaign, but not quite. And obviously, we are going to start with an attempt to industrialize ourselves, and for that reason, we'll go with Great Indian Peninsula Railway. As far as production goes, we have quite a lot. Unlike Canada, we have access to a reasonable amount of resources from the get-go, so we are actually going to build several military factories first, before we perhaps go ahead and build a few more civilian ones. Because we start with, as I mentioned, 14, and we do not have, well, firstly, we do not have problem with Great Depression, so only 5 out of those 14 are being used. We don't have to buy resources, and lastly, we have a lot of resources to trade, which will result in 5 or 6 civilian factories that we'll be able to get from that. As far as military construction goes, we are going to use one of our factories to start building support equipment, mostly because we don't really have aluminium, so we might as well start using it. While we are going to use mountain troops and Gurkhas, we are not going to attempt to we're not going for such specialized forces, high quality divisions as we did in our Canadian campaign. We will eventually have very decent manpower, so we will try to go a bit more Soviet Union style with decent infantry divisions, but nothing too fancy, because, well, we don't really have industry to equip those anyway. So mediocre divisions, but much more of them. We don't have access to any naval equipment, as you can see, so we'll just start by building convoys. As far as research goes, as we mentioned earlier in passing, we only have 2 research slots, and our bonuses are atrocious. Frankly, we need to start building artillery. By now, you probably realize that artillery is the most important thing you have in this game. A massive soft attack increase basically makes or breaks your army. So not having it and not being able to build it from the get-go is detrimental. For that reason, we are going to, for now, ignore all of those the same way we ignored them in our first episode with Canada, because, well, we are not producing much anyway on that. Basically, that's the choice we can make on veteran difficulty, because well, with 2, 4, 3 factories, it's not having 5% boost for a few days doesn't really matter. We aren't producing much as it is, so we are going to go for a similar gambit, and we will go for mountain infantry from the get-go, and then we will try to make use of the bonuses. Sadly, this time around they will only amount to 20%, but, well, if you have only 2 research slots, you really need to get what you can. If this is a first thing that you watch of mine, please do not. There is a reason to this madness. I know that in previous versions you would go with basic machine tools and construction, or perhaps electronic mechanical engineering, but, well, there is a reason for that. As far as the rest goes, we are going to do a little bit of training. Not as much as we did with Canada, because there's quite a lot of army experience in our focus tree. I don't know, field fighter, I guess. We'll do the same trick as we did, which is we are going to lower the priority for reinforcements and increase the priority for production, which means that the guns we are producing are not going to go to those divisions that are training, because it doesn't matter if your divisions has, well, apparently it doesn't really matter if 1 out of 10 guys has guns, or all of them. You are gaining the same amount of our army experience and division experience, but you are only losing a fraction of the equipment for your training. So, a small neat trick. Now we can fast forward and see how that develops. Of course, another reason we are starting with this rather than the army focus is because we have access to our 3rd research slot right here, which we'll be able to access after taking those 3, which is very important. Sadly, next 2 bonuses are gated behind full independence, as you can see here. So there you have it. Since we will most likely go with 2-nation theory, we will not want to build much in East Bengal and all the other provinces that will become Pakistan later. I mean, nothing personal, but, well, you know how it is, Pakistan. As far as our, I think I mentioned that we are going to stay within the bounds of Commonwealth and try to act as a bigger and bigger, but still cog in a bigger machine. There is, of course, a potential for a world conquest as India, but, well, we've done world conquest in previous versions, so I thought I will do something different. Also, the next 2 playthroughs, I believe, are going to be Communist South Africa and, well, United Kingdom, since out of the majors, this is the only one we haven't played yet, and, well, with all the changes with this patch, this seems like a very reasonable solution. But firstly, I wanted to do the minors, since they're quite interesting, as you can see here. Remilitarization of Rhineland doesn't affect us, so let's get ourselves another civilian factory. Another thing that is quite symptomatic of India in this expansion is that unlike many other minor nations in the Commonwealth, you don't really get that much industry or research bonuses. So the research bonuses in industry you get are not nearly as powerful as Canadian ones or things like that. Once again, an early Spanish Civil War. So, for example, Canada gets 15 military and 9 civilian factories. Australia gets, I think, around 12 total. Similarly, similar numbers for South Africa, and even New Zealand gets around 10. You don't get nearly as much, or rather, you could, but there's a problem with that, because on top of getting those this one civilian factory here, you only really get one here, and the rest of them are trapped in this little corner. But as you can see here, going for them lowers your autonomy, keeping you longer and longer in a status of of a colony, which in my opinion is not worth it. You can discuss, it's open, it's up to debate if it is better for you to use those later on when you are already a dominion and increase the time required for you to become independent, but well, I'm leaning against taking those three at all. So we'll have to build our industry on our own, sadly, in this case. Same goes for the research bonuses. They are not nearly as powerful as some of the ones that you get for Canada or, well, any other nation in the Commonwealth, really. And for that reason, we are very likely to actually early on increase autonomy rather than research things, unlock things around here, which is, well, something different. Alright, we're going to wait those 30 days, but we are going to firstly add some artillery here. I think I'll just want 3 of them. Infantry equipment, we can catch up with that later on, no problem. Artillery, not so much. Artillery actually requires much more industrial power to be able to field the reasonable amount of it per division. Industrial expansion, great, another level. We are going, in this case, we are going to get more steel, because we are actually exporting steel, which we have still 8 left to export, but basically that gives us a chance of getting more civilian factories out of exporting steel, while getting free oil will not, because we have 5 left, and only half of those free oils would be for export, which is either 1 or 2. Which doesn't amount to 8, and therefore isn't going to give us another factory for the time being. So, well, we'll get that in 70 days, but, well, still, this is for that reason, this is the better option. Once again, waiting for 30 days. Right, let's see how that goes. We only have 10 days for machine tools, and but 20% here. So I think we'll actually start with this one. By the time this finishes, we should get bonuses for construction, which is the one that we want the most, since we, unlike our military factories, we actually have quite a lot of civilian ones that are working and producing stuff. Let's see, do I want more military factories, or should I stick with civilian ones? Well, for now I think we are good on that front. You know what, I'll get 2 more, since we are not really getting those free ones. This is, well, while the start seems very similar, it's actually quite different. Yeah, something like that. we're going to go this way. I'm not going to buy another round of aluminum, but we'll get 2 out of 3 things here, which is enough. We're also not going to do that much training. We'll get a little bit, but we should have enough. Well, basically our division design won't be as expensive for the time being, so we don't really need to like train those divisions ad infinitum. Oh, there's some emergency services behind the window or something, like ambulance or so sorry for the noise. Now, Tata Steel will continue straight for Assam Oil, since, well, we cannot go for provincial elections just yet anyways, and we really want the 3rd recess slot down here. We will, of course, we are of course going to wait those 30 days, especially important early on, because, well, by that once you start, so of course people are researching those things, right? So there's one more nation that researches that, but if we pick it now, even if they research it like next day, then another 5% will not affect, will not be applied. So it only applies when we choose this thing, and we can fiddle with it, and you know, well, I will show that later. I think I showed it in the Canada game, but basically it only affects your research, unlike any other research bonuses, such as, well, the one here. It's this one will apply in real time. Those ones only apply the moment you pick the research, which is annoying. Alright, well, nothing really changed. For the reasons I mentioned before, I prefer construction. Actually, so Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand hasn't picked that one up yet. Well, this is only 5%, and they are definitely researching that, so we are going to stick with it. There we go. A lot of fast forwarding early on, but at least there isn't as much work to be done as with major nations. So those campaigns with, well, maybe not with India, because, well, by the time the war will be in full swing, we should be, well, as I mentioned, power quite similar to, let's say, Italy. So there will be actually quite a lot to do for us. Still, I mean, we won't really have boats, or it will take us a while to get Air Force or anything, because, as I also mentioned, we don't really get any good research bonuses like some other nations. For example, Canada and Australia have great bonuses for developing a powerful Air Force, and New Zealand has outright godlike bonuses for developing a navy. Right, and the research bonus, of course. How is the... okay, so Spanish Civil War is about to finish. Well, seems so. For that reason, we'll need to discuss what are we going to spend our political power on. There are, well, few options. There are always, well, the important options early on are always pretty much the same. So, which is war economy, firstly, then there is military theory for army experience gain, which also is an important one, and of course, last but not least, silent workforce, which is less important when you are playing, you know, on normal, when you have a reasonable amount of political power gain, but extremely important on veteran, as I keep telling. Yeah, I think we'll continue. We have maxed out, of course, but I think we'll need more army experience since. And now, since we have 150, there's a choice to be made. So by the moment Barcelona falls, we will be able to go for war economy, which is a I'm sorry, not war economy, of course, partial mobilization. I'm talking for this one. You need to be at war or fascist or communist, which we are not. Therefore, so this is a 40% swing, as you can see. A huge difference. Also, we'll be using less of our our factories for consumer goods. So this is by far the most important. Military terrorists, in our case, when we will be actually getting quite a lot of army experience from our focus tree, is less of an issue. And but silent workers, the faster we get it, the faster it pays for itself. It actually requires 500 days to basically pay for itself, and only then you get you get bonuses. So in this case, I think we are going to wait and see how the situation here develops, because this can be actually tricky, and we don't know how exactly the situation here looks, and very well Barcelona may hold on for another several months, but if it will fall tomorrow and we've already picked silent workhorse, we are far behind, because partial mobilization is the most important one by far. So let's give it a few more days and see if anything changes. Alright, you know what? We are going to continue this in the next episode. We are out of time. I actually discovered this new end screen feature, so probably around this time some pop-ups will show on your screen, one of which will or give you another next episode of this series if it's out already, and one will allow you to easily subscribe if you want to see more, and two will direct you to some of my other playlists, which I advise you to take a look at if you enjoyed how this looked. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you are enjoying the series, and I will see you, well, in half an hour if you are watching it outright, because first 3 episodes will be out on the first day, another 3 will be out on the second day, and then we are going to stay with 1 episode per day schedule as always, especially since Christmas are coming. Thanks for watching, and, well, bye!